We are back, Arena of Legends Team Ace Invitational. I'm Calder and with me is Moltrap for the next 5 games of today's Group B matches.
That's right, and we're going to start off with SuperNova versus Genius, and this is like a must win for Genius. Like literally, if he loses this game, then it's numerically impossible for him to even come out of a tiebreaker to escape from this group. If he loses, he'll be 0-3. At the same time, if SuperNova wins this game, he will have clinched a spot in the round of 8 of this tournament because he will be up 3-0. He's got a win against Marine King and Nesty already. He's already gotten past his highest hurdles, and now we have him playing against Genius, who frankly has been off his game the last few months. For a minute, I thought he was having a resurgence when he did well in the Team League, but then he just hasn't been performing today.
I feel really bad for the guy. I mean, right now he's becoming the punching bag of this group. So if he's not able to step up his game just a little bit in order to fight SuperNova down, then he will have his... Well, as you already mentioned, he will have no chance at all of advancing. And he has to face Nesty as well. So it's not only about winning against SuperNova, he also has to face Nesty later on.
Yeah.
So he really has to spice it up.
Definitely. So yeah, SuperNova looking really good today. Looking like he might get out of this group on top. He still has to face Genius though, and of course he has to face Life, the up-and-comer as well later on. So we're going to see. Let's go ahead and get into game number 6, SuperNova versus Genius at Terran versus Protoss here at the Team Ace Invitational.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. SuperNova starting at the bottom left on Calm Before the Storm, the new map, and he is the red Terran player.
That's right. Formerly by Sayer from Brood War days, strong Terran player then. And here is his opponent, the winner of the first BlizzCon Invitational. He's no longer, he can no longer say he's the BlizzCon champion because we have a new one now, but he's still a very strong player. He is MVP's Genius.
Another Terran versus Protoss. Genius just lost to Marine King. Marine King once again relying on that heavy bio force. And yeah, mixing it up with a bunch of tanks, but still doing a really good amount of damage to that Colossus army. Well, Colossus army is probably exaggerating quite a little bit, but that Gateway army with the help of a bunch of Immortals and Colossus as well. And funny enough, Marine King was able to defeat that Protoss army with only the help of bio units. I think he had 2 Vikings, which is not a lot if you are facing about 4 Colossi. But he was just on a roll and just going through Genius army like it was nothing.
Yeah, no, and he had some really good, you know, a little bit unconventional, but some really smart play using siege tanks and actually target firing down the Colossus with the siege tanks, also spreading his Marines out very, very well. And as Caldor is pointing out to me on the screen right now, we have both players going for very quick expansions.
Yeah, on a map like that where the... well, the thing about this map is that the distances between the bases is really huge in terms of walking distances, so you can definitely pull something off like that. It's a little bit like on Crevasse, where most players are going to start with an early expansion, but that's also something that has been punished in the past by players just taking advantage of that and starting with an early aggression. So right now both of them decided to get an early expansion to take into the macro game. And of course the Terran player follows that early command center up with a bunch of barracks in order to get out a lot of Marines. It doesn't take gas, it's just relying on a mineral heavy play so far before taking his refineries. And the Protoss player throwing down his core and of course the second warp gate, while Chrono boosting his economy. This will probably be one of the longer matches on this day.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to turn out to be a macro game indeed. Both players just going straight for the macro-heavy openings and not even going for too much after that. SuperNova just at 2 barracks right now. Of course, he's going to be getting more at some point as well. But, you know, on this map, I wouldn't actually be surprised if SuperNova just even expanded again and didn't really push out until he's got 3 bases and a lot higher supply, since he's got that readily accessible 3rd base just outside of his main as well.
Now SuperNova still has to prove that he's able to play in the later stages of the game. At least today, yes.
True.
So
That's
because he was putting a lot of pressure onto a Marine King. He put a lot of early game pressure onto NST, and right now he's opting for that late game, and I'm really eager to see how he's doing.
That's a really good point, actually. You're right, he basically rushed both of his games so far that he won, beating the favorites of the group, and so he's going to be playing a little bit different style here in this sort of longer term game, but SuperNova has actually a lot of experience. He came up through Code A, did very well in his Code A run. He hasn't really been able to accomplish too much success, you know, in the GSL. Hasn't been able to get too far, but is a very strong and experienced player, so I think he's going to be able to do just fine. He does have... Oh, and the probe comes off the line to polish off that SCV. So no more scouting for SuperNova.
I like that pylon. This is going to be quite interesting. Is he going for a proxy Stargate? At the same time, we have those engineering base quite early in the game. Ooh. So what exactly? And the third base that you were already talking about, he's going for the third command center, trying to get a huge economy advantage. And there's that Stargate. Here we go, the proxy Stargate by Genius.
Yep, it's like I said, Genius loves his Stargate play, man.
He certainly does.
You know, if this wasn't such a macro-oriented map, we probably would have seen him go for an even earlier Stargate instead of the expansion, but he's going to be going in there, and I like this dual upgrades early by SuperNova. Oftentimes you'll see Protoss players will go for, you know, it's been falling a little bit out of favor. It's not the main build that we see these days, but you still see Protoss players get the 2 forges.
We'll probably see that in the next patch again when the upgrades are actually cheaper.
Exactly. Go for the 2 forges, chrono boost them out and get an advantage. So Terran players sometimes get the early upgrades in order to match that late game. But in this case, SuperNova is actually going to have a 1-1 to 0-0 advantage because, as you're pointing out again, Genius is... What? What?
I'll stop you right there. A fleet beacon. Hell yeah, this is going to be awesome. We not only have the +1 attack upgrade for the air units, but he's starting with an early fleet beacon as well.
It's a
what
carrier
the hell
rush.
is happening?
Genius thinks he's playing StarCraft 1 again, man. He's going for a 2-base carrier rush, and this is exactly the build that you see in StarCraft 1 as well. You get the Stargate, Fleet Beacon, and Stargate at the same time, so you can build 2-gate carriers.
Genius probably being one of those Protoss players who was quite bummed out when he heard that carriers will be removed in Heart of the Swarm, and he was like, man, I have to play him now or never.
Exactly, I've got to use him while I can. There he is, producing 2 carriers, getting the upgrade as well for the Interceptors. Wow, he's going to have +1 weapons for those carriers as well. This is insane.
God, I love this group. This group is just so great. Talk about awesome games, man. Team Ace Invitational, that's what you want to see. We are having a carrier attack proxy double Stargate and the Fleet Beacon. Carriers being produced. There's the Forge and the +1 attack upgrade for the air units for the Protoss player are nearly through, and there comes that bio push. Will he be able to hold that off with the units in his main base? He has only 3 sentries.
Wow.
Jesus Christ, what a start into that game.
This is crazy. Now, it's kind of funny, the two units that have the highest DPS in the game are Marines and Carriers, and we're going to have +1 weapon Marines versus +1 weapon Carriers going on here. 2 carriers have arrived. Carrier has arrived, and he's chrono boosting out more, getting +2 weapons for the carriers. 2 bio upgrades going on.
Chrono boosting the hell out of those 2 Stargates. And there's the Marine, and SuperNova has no idea whatsoever. He doesn't have a clue of what's happening. He's just trying to get that Bioforce. And of course, the one thing that could kill Genius is just an attack by the Terran player if he's trying to get into the main base.
Oh no! His Marine is rallied to scout this location. Will it be too late, though? He's moving out on the map. He's picking off this pylon. SuperNova is moving across the map, but here's the thing. Genius can force field and delay that attack for a while because he doesn't have any ghosts, he doesn't have any siege tanks, and oh, here he comes in. He's going to scout it, and more carriers are coming out. There's going to be 4 carriers there to meet that Marine.
Research.
Hello there! Hello, sailor. And here we go. First at Marine, and immediately that's the cue for the Protoss player to attack. Here we go. Missile turrets being built all over the place.
Wow.
And he needs them. He will certainly need those. And here, oh, will he be able to take out those medivacs?
Oh, he needs one medivac. Whoa, look at the range on those carriers. So many interceptors coming out there. Is he going to be able to take them out? Marines can do a lot of damage very quickly. There's no armor on those interceptors, so the +2 upgraded Marines can do a lot of damage. +2 just finished, so he could probably pick those interceptors off pretty quickly. To be honest.
Vikings.
Whoa, okay, here they are. I haven't actually seen Marines versus carriers in a professional game, so I have no idea how this is going to go down.
There are so many missile turrets already, and of course SuperNova trying to get anti-air as fast as possible. He's getting 2 Vikings at a time with the help of the reactor, getting additional starports, and here we go, the attack of the Protoss player, storming in with all those zealots, trying to deal as much damage as possible, taking out the bunker, and the carriers from the back, their Guardian shields as well, and now SuperNova losing an awesome amount of units, but Genius is down to 160 supply guns, 152, and the carriers die to the Marines! Stimming and attacking with all those upgrades. Wow.
Wow, indeed. The carrier's going down, and a couple of Vikings joining in the mix as well, just to seal the deal. Genius going for an interesting concept here, but the Stim Marines just doing too much damage, and not enough in front. I think, Genius, he had his carriers kind of behind his forces, but he didn't really use any force fields enough.
Yes.
And there's the GG.
So many Marines taking out the interceptors and the carriers as well. Wow. But seriously, I mean, if not for that one scout. Let's just say he hadn't scouted those 2 starports.
No missile turrets.
Yeah, no missile turrets, no additional starports in order to build more Vikings. And suddenly 6 of those carriers hit your base and you're totally unaware of what's going to happen. You're like, what the?
Exactly, and because SuperNova was moving out. If he hadn't scouted that, you saw he ran all of his forces back to his expansion to defend. If he hadn't scouted that, he would have attacked, and Genius would have had a defender's advantage at his main, and like you said, he would have just swept in with the 4 to 6 carriers, and when it went into a base trade, the carriers, I think, probably would have won in that situation because of force fields keeping SuperNova out of his base. So, SuperNova gets lucky there, and he's now at a 3-0 in this group, and Genius is guaranteed to be eliminated from this group at LM3.
And this is just so intense. I mean, SuperNova, talking about a solo Terran play today. This guy is just on a roll. I mean, have a look at that. 3 wins. He won against Marine King Prime. He won against Amnesty. Took out MVP Genius as well, and he will definitely advance to the next stage, but this is just amazing. That guy is just in such a good shape.
Yes, indeed. It's actually I guess the only, actually I'd have to look at the matches, but I'm pretty sure that there's no way for SuperNova to be not at least in some kind of crazy tiebreaker, but I think he's pretty much clinched escaping from this group into the round of 8, so nicely done. And of course, so it's now basically up to between Nesty, Marine King, and Life. Those 3 players each have a score of 1-1, so they're going to be duking it out for that 2nd place spot.
The next game, ladies and gentlemen, will be Marine King Prime against Next Life. And that match will be at Crossfire. Another Terran versus Zerg coming up in just a few seconds.